Hey guys, my name is David.
I'm Ro.
And this is Sweetie. And in our last video, we talked about like unwritten campground etiquette. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check that out because we're sort of going off of that same topic in this video, except also in a completely different direction. And now we're going to be talking about the rudest people that we've ever encountered in our campsites. And we have a lot of these stories actually, but we're only going to talk about half of them right now. But if this video does well and you guys like this video, then we'll make another one. So if you enjoyed it, go ahead and let us know in the comments below.
This first story I'm going to tell is one that we've actually never ever shared before with you guys, and it's a really old story, but this was definitely a very rude encounter that we ever had. We were camping just outside of Las Vegas in the Lake Mead National Recreation Area. I believe we were on Government Wash, which is an area you can camp for free. For those of you that don't know, it's actually really pretty there. And we were camping with some friends. Our friends Jason and Misty, we had just met them in Quartzsite before we even came to Lake Mead. Or yeah, something like that. And again, this is an old story. I think it was 2018 when this happened. And we were camping kind of near the end of Government Wash where we were pretty close to the water. And it was beautiful. It was really windy though. And every single morning, this was not just like a one-time encounter at this campsite. This was every single morning. So let me paint you a super quick picture. We were camped in a campsite that had a fire ring in front of our camper, or it was right behind our camper. And our front door opened up to this sort of cliff. We had a little bit of a space in front of our door. And it opened up into this sort of cliff to this beautiful view of Lake Mead. So we had a front door view of Lake Mead. Gorgeous. Our friends Jason and Misty were camped on the other side of our fire ring with their fire ring in between us. So they're two separate campsites, two fire rings. We were camped next to each other. Well, for some reason, the area on the front edge of our camper, there was a ton of room there, mind you. This wasn't weird. There was a ton of room there, but this is where everybody parked really early in the morning to walk down and go fishing. There were lots of different areas all around here that they could have walked down. There were all different areas here that they could have parked in to get down to the water, but they parked right in front of our trailer. And on many occasions, they would be loud and talking and slamming their doors right next to our trailer, like within 5 feet of our front door. It was insane. We had people park and drive right on our front rug, and we didn't have a huge rug like we do now. We had a little rug out front. People drove on our rug. That's how close they were to our front door. And these were only, they were kind of the same, like 6 vehicles or so, I think, but they came out every single morning, and instead of parking away from us and walking down over there, which we verified you could walk down over there, this wasn't weird, they could walk down elsewhere, they still walked down in front of our trailer, which again is fine, but it was the parking on our rug, parking within a couple feet of our door. Oh my gosh. Now guys, some of you may be saying, like, this is public land, this is, you know, Government Wash for anybody that's ever been there. You can camp wherever you want. You're right. You can camp wherever you want. But the courtesy of not being in someone else's space when you're camping on public land is very important. And guys, this was also not the middle of the day. This was well before the sun rose. This was winter. We were there in February. The sun didn't rise until like 7 in the morning or 7:30 in the morning. This was like 4:30 or 5. It was so early, and they were always so, sometimes they came in blasting music. I don't know what was happening, but yeah, that was rude. It was weird. We didn't like it. We got the brunt of that because that's where they all parked, was right there. Our neighbors, luckily, our friends didn't have to deal with it as much as we did, but that was weird.
Before we get to the rest of the stories though, I want to really quick tell you about an awesome campground finding app for your smartphone called The DYRT. The DYRT is the best campsite finding website and smartphone app we've ever used. However you camp, in a tent, trailer, RV, or cabin, the DYRT makes finding accommodations easy. And with over 1 million listings, you're sure to find the perfect campsite. The DYRT website and app are free to use. However, they have an extremely affordable Pro membership available for only $3 per month. Pro has many indispensable features for travelers like us, such as offline access and downloadable maps so you can search for campsites anywhere, map overlays for BLM land, national forests, and national parks, so there's no questioning what land you're on, and a trip planner so you can see all the campgrounds and fuel stops along your route. A pro membership will also get you up to 40% off at hundreds of campgrounds across the country and up to 30% off camping gear made by many major brands. And if you go through the link in the video description below and use promo code FATE, you'll receive a free 90-day membership to the DYRT Pro. Unlock better camping with exclusive features and savings with the DYRT Pro.
Now, this next story is quite possibly the weirdest one. Not necessarily rude, but very weird. So, we're camping near Sedona, Arizona, and we are on a forest road. We're in the national forest, and this forest road leads off of the highway up along a narrow ridge line of some pretty tall hills. And it's not that long of a road. I would say a mile and a half, maybe. And we're up at like the top of the ridge line, and we're camping pretty much completely by ourselves. We're like the only people up here. And, you know, I would say 3 days, we were here for 2 weeks, and every 3 days, the same blue crossover SUV would drive past our campsite around noonish and then leave around sunset. And I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, oh, you know, it's just another person that apparently lives in the area, because they would come in and then leave. 3 days later, come in, leave. You know, they just have like their spot that they like, and they're just, you know, doing whatever recreation out there. Cool. But I would say about a week in, I just, you know, got a little adventurous, you know, because I always wonder, like, where do these forest roads lead? How deep do they go? Is there more campsites down there? And so I just got in the truck to do a little exploring, and I start driving deeper along the forest road that our RV was off of, or that we were camping on. And I see that person's truck or SUV just in the next site down from us, which it wasn't very far away. There were like some trees in the way, so we couldn't like directly see it from our campsite. But I see his car, and I'm like, oh, that's where he's going, just to that campsite right there. And then as the trees clear and I'm like driving right in front of his campsite, I'm like, what is this? This man, who's, you know, in probably his mid-60s, he's just chilling in a camping chair, completely naked. And I saw way more than I ever wanted to see. And it's like, okay, apparently this is what this man does. He drives to this campsite every 3 days, and he just gets naked and gets his tan on in front of, you know, just the wilderness and God. And what was crazy to me is that I don't have a quiet truck. I have a diesel. It's older, and so it's loud. He probably heard my truck start from our campsite. He certainly heard it coming down the road, and he didn't try to cover up at all. He didn't even like have a towel ready to throw over his junk to, you know, make himself more decent at all. And like, you know, like, sure, we're out in the middle of the national forest. You know, if there's a place to get naked and tan, I guess it's there, you know, where you're pretty much going to be alone, especially off of this fairly secluded national forest road. But like I said, he definitely heard my truck coming, and like, there could have been kids in this truck. Like, it could have been a family, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what blows me away about that, is that he didn't even try to cover up, and because he didn't know. But yeah, and then I went to the end of the road, and unfortunately, it dead-ended, so I had to turn around in a little, you know, like I had to do like a 3-point turn and come back the same way. Sure enough, you know, I averted my eyes, but out of the corner of my eye, I still saw him sitting in the same seat, still naked, and this man had no shame.
This next story is one where not only did this nearby camper bother us, but they bothered everybody else in the campground. And unfortunately, I was the only one with enough gumption to go and talk to them, so I had to talk to them. But let me set the scene for you first. We were camping in Jumbo Rocks Campground in Joshua Tree National Park. I believe it was about January of 2018. I think it was 2018. And for those of you that don't know, there's no cell signal, there's no internet signal, nothing at this part of the park in Joshua Tree. So I didn't have the ability to call anybody. And also to set the scene, Joshua Tree National Park has very specific generator use hours. So these are, I'm gonna list off a couple of hours. These are the only times that you're allowed to run your generator. Otherwise, you're not allowed to run your generator at all. And these times are from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., noon to 2 p.m., and 5 to 7 p.m. Otherwise, generators are not to be allowed at any time. And it was probably about 9:30, almost 10 o'clock at night, the night that we were camping, and the person, I think that they were across and over one campsite from us. They had been running the generator since we got there. We were there, I don't know what time we pulled in, like 3 o'clock or so in the afternoon, and their generator had been running the whole time since we had gotten there. And again, generator hours are over at 7 p.m. That's the absolute latest you can be running your generator. 9:30 rolls, you know, plenty of time for this guy to have known to turn his generator off. And we went on a walk with Sweetie because it was really loud. It was a big generator, really, really loud, real close to us. So we went on a walk with Sweetie, and a couple of the people that were camped near us were just like, is this guy gonna turn his generator off? Like, doesn't that bother you? He's really close to you guys. You know, they saw us. And he actually had a whole bunch of tent campers just on the other side of his RV. It was like the rest of the road we were camping off of was tent campers. And you guys know how thin the tent walls are. You know, that's really loud then for the generator. And nobody wanted to go and confront this man. Not saying he wasn't a nice guy. Nobody wanted to go and confront him because he was a larger man, he looked kind of intimidating, and nobody wanted to go confront him, but also none of us had signal to call a park ranger to talk to him for any of us. So, basically it was determined that he's probably not going to yell at a young girl like me, so I get to go be the one to knock on his door. And I was really nice. I knocked on his door, and he opened it, and he was just like, yes, obviously. Because he's confused why I'm contacting him, and I could see the TV was on in the background, so I know that's why he was running his generator. He was watching TV, which is, again, is fine. But I let him know, hey, you're like 2.5 hours past generator hours. Were you aware? Like, I let him know, like, were you aware? And he was just like, no, what time did generator hours end? And I said 7 p.m., and he went, oh, okay. And then he went out and turned it off. But before he went back inside, I asked him, I was like, do you know what generator hours are? I was going to be really kind and let him know what they are. And he said yes. And then I was like, okay, cool. And he walked inside, and I went away. It was a really simple, it was friendly. He understood he made a mistake and just turned it off. It was really good interaction, actually. But the next morning, very next morning, generator hours are from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then they're off. No generators are allowed to be run from 9 to noon. And at noon, you can turn it back on. Well, at like 10 o'clock in the morning, he was still running his generator. I wasn't gonna go confront him again. He said he knew what the generator hours were. But luckily, one of the National Park Rangers was going through, you know, checking everybody's tags to make sure that they were gonna check out on time or that they were arriving, what have you. And we saw her walk by, and we went, are you gonna talk to that guy over there about generator hours? And she went, yeah, you're probably the 10th person that has talked about this guy, so I'm gonna go there right now. And she went and talked to him. She was actually talking to him for a long time, but he did turn it off, and he actually followed generator hours after that. So it ended up being a good story overall. Just having to talk to somebody just because we didn't have signal was so nerve-wracking. But luckily it turned out to be a good end to that story.
And then the last story for this video, but not our last story. Like I said, we've got a number of other ones. Took place in the White Mountain National Forest of New Hampshire back in 2017, very shortly after we first hit the road. We had only been on the road for a couple months. And so this one was just like, you know, we're brand new to full-time RVing. And when stuff like this happens, you're just like, whoa, is it gonna be like this? Is this normal or what? Thankfully, nothing like this has ever happened since then, but yeah, it was totally weird. So again, we're fast asleep in the morning, and we hear like this loud revving of vehicles, and it wakes me up. I'm an extremely light sleeper. It was still fairly warm outside. It was like August, September, and so it was decently warm night. So we had our windows open, and so we could hear everything. And we were in a pretty large campsite, like real big, but you could only really park a rig in a small section of it, and the rest was just like very loose dirt. And so yeah, we're woken up by this loud revving noise. I look out the window and I see two older trucks, like 1990s Chevys, just doing donuts in that soft sand, like too close for comfort to our RV. And they're just going around and around, and you know, they're just kind of like this. They're both going at the same time. And then one of them just peels out and just tears off away and down the road. And then the other one just follows right behind them, just, you know, gunning it back out the road. And they've got their hands out the window, just flipping us the bird, middle finger up right back at us. And Ro and I look at each other and we're just like, what? What did we do to you? Like, we hadn't even been in this campsite for very long, and all we had done is just camp, like be super quiet and all that stuff. So like, there's no way that we upset anyone like with our actions. We definitely didn't do anything. The only thing that we can think of is that those two guys came to that area to shoot, to do some target practice, just shoot their guns, because there was a mound built up, probably, you know, just a little taller than me, the mound was, and it was at the far back of the campsite. And so I think these guys were just like, you know, excited to go shooting. You know, it was like a weekend, I think. If I remember correctly, it was like a Sunday morning or something, maybe Saturday, Sunday. And so, yeah, they probably just wanted to go shooting, and then they saw that an RV was parked there, and they were like, oh, what the F, you know? So I'm just gonna be obnoxious and, you know, F these people, you know, whatever, which totally uncalled for. Like, yeah, we're just in the National Forest. All we want to do is camp. So yeah, that was definitely rude of them and a pretty weird experience for us. And something that really weirded us out about that is that, like, they were just so randomly hostile and upset about that, and they have no idea, like, who we were or anything like that. Like, they didn't, like, for all they knew, there could have been some kids in there, and like this, like, scared our kids if we had small children. Or maybe, like, what if we were some like sweet old elderly couple that, you know, we're just trying to enjoy the outdoors, and they're like harassing this elderly couple, or, you know, so yeah, it's just weird that people would just be so randomly, openly hostile about something so minor.
So those have been just a handful of some of our rudest encounters with other campers. And like we said before, we actually have 5 more stories that we have written out that we could tell you guys about. I'm sure there are more if we thought hard enough. We've encountered a lot of rude campers over the years. But if you guys liked this video, let us know, because, you know, we like sharing our stories. A lot of these we haven't shared before. So leave those, you know, let us know down in the comments below. And also, let us know what your rudest encounters with other campers are, and what did you do? How was it resolved? Are you still fuming about it to this day, like I am about the campers at Lake Mead? Like, ugh, why did they drive on our rug? I don't know. But yeah, this has been actually a really fun video for us to make, recanting some of these stories, because, you know, we're not upset in the moment anymore. So it's been pretty great.
Yeah, it's like you know, those situations where you're like, we're gonna laugh about this someday. But in the moment, it was just like, why is this happening?
Yeah. But that's gonna be all for us for this video. We hope that you guys have an awesome rest of your week, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Sweet girl.
Hey, say bye.
You want to say bye?
Say bye. Say. Oh, yeah. Good girl.